Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Novalinda Prayitno, student ID 234111065, Management Class of 2023 DEX. Occupational Health and Safety OHS is a comprehensive system and approach aimed at creating a safe, healthy, and productive work environment by identifying, evaluating, and controlling all potential hazards in the workplace. The main goal of OHS is not only to prevent workplace accidents or occupational illnesses, but also to build a work culture that values safety as a top priority. In today's complex and ever-changing world of work, occupational risks have also evolved, ranging from physical, chemical, biological, to ergonomic and psychosocial hazards. Therefore, OHS is no longer just a legal obligation as stated in regulations such as Law No. 1 of 1970 on Work Safety or Government Regulation No. 50 of 2012 concerning the OHS Management System, SMK3. But it has also become an integral part of modern management strategies focused on sustainability, efficiency, and the well-being of human resources. Without proper implementation of OHS, companies may suffer significant losses, not only financially, but also morally, reputationally, and in terms of losing valuable human resources. In practice, the implementation of OHS begins with identifying potential hazards in the work environment, whether visible or invisible. For example, in the manufacturing industry, a metal cutting machine operator faces a high risk of serious injury if the machine lacks protective guards, or if the worker does not wear gloves and safety goggles. Another example is laboratory workers who may be exposed to toxic chemicals like sulfuric acid or chloroform, thus must wear PPE, personal protective equipment, such as lab coats, respirator masks, and chemical-resistant gloves. Other dangers like ergonomic hazards are often overlooked. For instance, office workers who sit for long periods in poor posture are at risk of musculoskeletal and spinal issues. Meanwhile, psychosocial hazards such as high work pressure and unrealistic targets can trigger chronic stress that affects workers' mental health. Therefore, the OHS approach must address all aspects, physical, mental, and social, in a balanced manner. Hazard control efforts in OHS follow the hierarchy of control principles, starting with hazard elimination, substitution of hazardous materials, engineering controls, administrative controls, such as work rules and SOPs, and finally the use of personal protective equipment. As a concrete example, in a construction company in Jakarta, a fatal accident occurred due to a worker falling from a height because he was not wearing a full body harness while working on the 10th floor. Occupational Health and Safety, OHS, is a systematic approach to ensuring that the work environment is safe and healthy for all employees. It plays a vital role in preventing workplace accidents, occupational diseases, and reducing the risks of both material and non-material losses. The core principle of OHS is prevention, which emphasizes identifying potential hazards before accidents occur. OHS is also participatory, meaning that all levels within a workplace, from top management to field workers, must be actively involved in building a safe work culture. The objectives of implementing OHS in the workplace include protecting workers' physical and mental health, improving productivity through a conducive work environment, and complying with applicable laws and regulations. Companies that consistently implement OHS not only avoid legal penalties, but also gain more trust from employees and the public. This improves the company's image and can offer a competitive advantage in the market. The scope of OHS is broad, covering hazard identification, risk assessment, risk control, use of personal protective equipment, PPE, worker training and education, and emergency preparedness. In practice, the Occupational Health and Safety Management System, OHSMS, is built through several core components. An OHS policy established by top management, structured planning, implementation and operations, including PPE provision and safety training, and regular evaluation of the system. Management review is also crucial to ensure the relevance and continuous improvement of the program. Workplace risks may include physical, chemical, biological, ergonomic, and psychosocial hazards. Physical risks involve noise, extreme temperatures, or poor lighting. Chemical risks may involve exposure to toxic substances such as ammonia or carbon monoxide. Biological hazards include infectious agents like viruses or bacteria, especially in healthcare settings. Ergonomic risks often arise from improper work postures, while psychological stress from excessive workloads or interpersonal conflicts can harm mental health. To reduce these risks, employers are obligated to provide and ensure the use of appropriate personal protective equipment, PPE. PPE includes safety helmets, protective goggles, masks, gloves, safety boots, and hearing protection, depending on the nature of the job. In addition, regular safety training and awareness programs must be conducted to educate workers on safe work practices and emergency response. Routine inspections are also necessary to detect potential hazards caused by changes in the work environment or operational procedures. In terms of regulation, the Indonesian government has established various laws and regulations to enforce OHS, including Law No. 1 of 1970 on occupational safety and Government Regulation No. 50 of 2012 on OHSMS implementation. High-risk industries such as manufacturing, mining, construction, and healthcare are required to strictly implement these systems. OHS experts play a key role in monitoring, planning, and responding to workplace incidents. They assist companies with internal audits, SOP development, training, and accident investigations. The application of OHS differs across sectors. In the construction industry, workers must wear full PPE such as helmets, safety harnesses, and steel-toe boots, and participate in daily safety briefings. In manufacturing, the focus is on machine safety, chemical control, and adequate ventilation. In office settings, ergonomic furniture, safe cable management, and fire evacuation training are essential. In hospitals, the management of medical waste, isolation procedures, and use of medical-grade PPE are critical. Developing a safety culture is one of the most important aspects of successful OHS implementation. This culture is built on values, attitudes, and consistent behaviors related to safety. When a strong safety culture is in place, employees are more likely to be aware of their surroundings, report hazards without fear, and take initiative to work safely. However, building this culture takes time. It requires leadership commitment, open communication, continuous training, and recognition for safe behavior. Active participation from all employees is key to ensuring that OHS becomes a daily habit, not just a compliance requirement. Following the incident, the company made it mandatory for all workers at heights to use harnesses, installed guardrails, and conducted regular training on the dangers of working at heights. From this case, we learn that accidents caused by negligence or lack of risk control can be prevented if the OHS system is properly implemented from the beginning. For example, a multinational pharmaceutical company in Surabaya launched a safety champion program that involved employees from various levels to become safety ambassadors who actively educate their colleagues. They also implemented an anonymous. Finally, despite the many challenges in implementing OHS, such as low worker awareness, budget limitations, or lack of equipment, with strong management commitment and the right approach, these issues can be overcome. Occupational health and safety is not an added burden for companies. It is a long-term investment in business sustainability. Protecting workers means protecting productivity, reputation, and the overall assets of a company. Therefore, it is time for all business actors and workers to prioritize OHS in every aspect of their operations. 10-2. Barakat adalah lanjutan dan penyutup yang lebih panjang dari teks sebelumnya dalam bahasa Inggris. Bagian ini dirancang untuk memperkuat pesan dan memberi kesan akhir yang mendalam, kokok untuk presentasi makalah, atau pidato. To sum up, occupational health and safety, OHS, is far more than just following rules or fulfilling legal obligations. It is about protecting human life, promoting dignity at work, and creating an environment where people can thrive. It is a fundamental aspect of responsible and sustainable business practices. When safety becomes an integrated part of an organization's values and everyday operations, it creates a ripple effect that influences performance, morale, and long-term success. The success of an OHS program depends not only on systems and procedures but also on people. Management must lead by example, demonstrating strong commitment through policies, resources, and consistent action. Supervisors must enforce safety standards while also listening to the concerns of their teams. And employees must take personal responsibility for following safety protocols and looking out for one another. This shared responsibility is what turns a workplace into a community where safety becomes second nature. Moreover, we must understand that safety and health are dynamic areas. As technologies evolve and work arrangements shift, such as the rise of remote work or automation, new risks emerge. For example, prolonged screen time and isolation in remote work can lead to eye strain, burnout, or mental fatigue. Meanwhile, automation may reduce physical risks, but increase cognitive and psychological pressure. This means that OHS programs must continuously adapt, guided by data, feedback, and ongoing training. Education also plays a key role. Workers at every level need to be educated not only on what to do but why it matters. Understanding the real-world consequences of ignoring safety protocols makes individuals more mindful and motivated. Safety drills, hazard simulations, and peer discussions are effective ways to reinforce knowledge and foster critical thinking in risk management. A strong OHS culture doesn't only bring internal benefits, it also builds trust with external stakeholders. Clients, partners, investors, and regulators are increasingly concerned about how companies treat their workers. Finally, let us remember a simple yet powerful principle. Safety is everyone's responsibility. It starts with awareness, grows through education, and becomes a culture through consistent action and mutual care. Let's envision a future where every worker returns home safe and healthy every single day. Let's strive to create workplaces where people feel protected, valued, and empowered. Because at the end of the day, no job is so urgent or important that it cannot be done safely.